What happens when a couple of friends deep dive into silly Star Wars thoughts and questions you never knew you needed answered?
Do you think that Shmi and Qui-Gon did the Funky Town dance?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
Oh, yeah. 100% that was her being like, come on, let's go to bed, you know?
She was coming to invite us.
Yeah.
Join us for some casual conversation on the Cantina Chat podcast featuring Jordan and Sean.
Welcome in to another episode here of the Cantina Chat podcast. Yo! We got a fun one. We're going to be doing discussing here the last movie in the Skywalker saga.
Yep.
Here, the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. I know last week you said, or the last
2
episode
weeks,
we
yeah.
said that you thought that 9 was better than 8, and neither one of us had seen it in a little while. And I was like, I don't know, man. My memories of 9 are so bad,
Right.
but I gotta tell you, buddy, you were right.
Yeah.
I don't know why I had such a bad memory of it, but I'm like, it's a pretty good movie.
I think
man.
it's because you just had a bad taste from the movie prior.
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
The sequel trilogy it didn't hold up. It was a much bigger letdown out of all the movies.
I agree.
And so when you have that,
Yeah.
the way that you look at it and go about it is like, oh, this is horrible, especially the first time you watch it.
And it like compounds, right? So like 7 was like, I was like, all right, you know.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah.
It is what it is. And then 8 hit me so hard as being so negative that
Yeah.
I was already in this like sour mindset. By the time 9 came out, I was not with it anymore.
Yeah.
I was just
You
like,
were numb.
I was done.
9 made you numb.
Oh,
Hello.
I know.
I know.
Shout out to the best sidekick.
Stupid. I love it, dude, so much. Yeah, no, it was a lot better.
Yeah.
I mean, I like I said, I mean, going about it, I liked it better than 8.
I think it's funny because it still has, like, in terms of Star Wars movies, in my opinion, it's now the second, worst movie in terms of, like, somewhat questionable writing and
Right.
and weird plot holes that don't make any sense
Right.
and, like, overly convenient dumb stuff. But if you just step back and look at this thing from, like, a generic, like, a movie standpoint, it's funny, it's entertaining, it's action throughout. I'm like, it's a J.J. Abrams movie. It just feels like another good movie. It's
I don't
fine.
remember if we talked about this on the last episode or if it was just me and you, but you had asked, you had said something about Hux being a spy at one point.
Yeah, we talked.
And I was like,
about
no, he wasn't no spy. And then when I rewatched the movie, I was like, oh crap, he was a spy. I was 100% positive in my mind that I was correct that he was not a spy until they were like, when I was watching it and they were talking about they have a spy that works for the First Order, blah blah blah, and I was like, man, who could that be? I don't remember there being a spy. And then he comes up and Hux walks in the room.
It's one of the worst lines of dialogue ever. He just shows
I'm the
up.
spy.
Yes, I did.
Right.
And I believed you. I was so on board. I didn't stand up for it. I'm like, oh, I thought he was.
When
Weird.
he came in and he was like, I want to do it myself. And I was like, oh, crap. Well, they're not going to die. Oh, crap. And then immediately, I'm the spy. And I was like, why? What? Do you have to say it like that?
Yeah.
You couldn't be like, so, I'm
Yeah.
here to help you guys. I'm the spy that's...
What I heard him
whatever.
say was, I'm the spy, Jordan. That's what he said.
Maybe he was talking to me.
Yeah, it was
That's
just
weird.
straight to you. Yeah.
So weird. How did he know that in 4 years after
He watched
the
our.
movie released?
He watched
I
last
forget.
episode. Saw it.
Wait.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever.
So we get to see quite a few things that are pretty cool. I know that you're a big fan of like the way this movie opens, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you get
the
to see
opening scene
Kylo
is
go
crazy.
ham,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, immediately opens up to Kylo being a beast and tearing up whatever militia he
random
was
village.
currently doing. Yeah, I mean, he had people coming out there to attack him. He was just slicing them down. My favorite part of the whole thing is when he grabbed the guy and flipped him over his shoulder and slammed him on the ground and then, stabbed him or whatever. I was like, bro, I think like that to me, like a lot of like the sequels have been pretty good about being just continuous action.
Yeah, I agree.
And for the Star Wars movie to immediately open up with just action, like you had Episode 4, which opened up with the Starship Pursuit, which is great. Episode 3 is obviously to me going to be the best opening to any Star Wars movie that's made.
Siege of Coruscant,
Right?
a big
you know
battle.
what I mean? So you had those 3, and then finally we get another one where you have,
like just
so
a
many
straight-
episodes later,
Yeah.
where you finally have just immediately somebody just tearing it up.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that. I mean, there doesn't have to be, continuous action for me to be hooked. You know, we had Andor.
Right.
Andor wasn't continuous action.
There's
and
a totally different vibe.
Still loved it. Like,
that,
I really enjoyed the vibe of that.
Same.
But seeing every now and then having just immediate, just somebody going to town is like, okay,
cool,
I like that a lot.
It adds to like his attitude and all that too,
and it shows
how
how much he's like
him.
almost grown in a way. You know what I mean? Like more power wise, like he's much more gung ho of being like, yeah, you know, I was out here doing it. You know?
I liked that they used his, you know, his unique crossguard lightsaber, and we actually saw like one of the fight moves was him using it to stab. Like he stabbed a guy through the chest with the crossguard part, and then pushed him like to the ground. And I was like, oh, that's pretty unique. That, you know, you'd see like some medieval knight or something do that with the crossguard. So it's pretty wild.
Well, he used it on Finn as well.
Yeah, he did. That's true. He used it a little when it was like against his hands.
He didn't he dig it into
pushed
his
it
shoulder?
into him. You're right.
He pushed it into his shoulder. When
exactly
they were
what
clashing
you do.
And then pushing it.
Yeah.
In. So it was like we saw that, but no, seeing him like actually like
I think
powerfully use it. Yeah, it was.
I will say there is a couple, like I guess on the negative pieces, like that battle. Right, he's there to get what they call the Wayfinder, which is the map to Exegol, basically, that allows them to navigate through the storm. But there's a point later in the movie where they get separated. Rey figures out through all the shenanigans that the other Wayfinder, the second one, there's apparently only two in the entire galaxy.
Right.
The second one is in the debris of the Death Star.
Correct. In the throne room.
She
in
learns
what they
that,
say, the Sith Vault in the throne room for the Death Star or whatever.
So she discovers that, and she goes over there to go get it. And right when they get separated, Kylo Ren's reaction is, I know where she's going, because he knew she wanted the second Wayfinder, and then he met up with her on Endor. If he knew that Wayfinder was there, why was he at this other place fighting off a bunch of people when the much easier one to get was there on Endor?
So if you paid attention, it started off with him going to find that Wayfinder, and then as soon as the battle's over, he goes to Exegol.
Right.
So he might not have known where Palpatine was. He could have retrieved that Wayfinder from whatever planet he was on at the moment, right? Or did they discuss that?
What do you mean?
So like there was two Wayfinders.
Yeah.
He was on a planet trying to find it. That's why he was in that big battle.
Yeah, I mean, it was there. That's where he took it from.
Yeah, he took it from there. And so, but you said, why did he have to go get it, right?
No, I'm saying he already knew where Rey was going.
Right.
He knew that Rey was going to go to Endor, which means he knows that the other Wayfinder was on Endor.
Right.
Completely unguarded. Why didn't he go there instead of to the battle?
Because maybe he didn't want to go through all the debris.
He'd rather fight a guarded one than an unguarded, than just walk up and grab one.
Would you rather slay an entire village, or would you rather just be like, oh, do?
Guess it depends on if I needed more dark side points.
I think, well, more than likely it was a dark side points.
Yeah, he was like,
I'm a little low today. I need to get back up there.
My force lightning's still not there. I gotta go kill some more innocent
Speaking of
people.
force lightning.
Oh,
buddy. You know, and it's part of me, like... Let's describe what we're talking about first.
I get it, but yeah.
You know, so halfway through the movie, you have when they were on the planet where the festival was, where they met Lando and so on.
Right.
You know, the Imperial shuttles are there. Rey knows that Kylo's there, so she goes out into the desert to go face him. Chewie gets taken by the Imperials and gets loaded onto one of these two shuttles.
Right.
Rey doesn't know that both the shuttles are there. Finn knows. But he doesn't know that which one Chewie got on, because he went back to go be like, oh crap, I have to tell everybody that we got to go.
Right.
So Chewie gets loaded onto the shuttle. It takes off. So Rey turns and Finn says, hey, Chewie, they have Chewie. Ship takes off. She turns and tries to catch it with the Force. She successfully stops it, which for one is insane. I know that she's like super strong.
Right.
You know, and I talk about this all the time. With no training, I take that back. I say no training. Leia,
minimal training at this point.
Leia has been helping her train. You know, she called Leia master in the beginning of the movie and all this stuff. And so it's like, okay, so Leia has been helping her train with the minimal amount that Leia does truly know that she had, you know, trained herself with Luke. So I say minimal. I'm sure she's stronger than what we are led to believe in the movie. Well, but you know, whatever.
Right.
So anyway, you know, she has had training from Leia after Luke passed.
Right.
So we go into here and she stops the ship, and granted it's a shuttle, but still we don't see hardly anybody else that
is
able
displayed
to
like that.
and has the power to just halt a ship from flying away.
Right.
You know, Starkiller, which is Legends.
Right.
But Starkiller grabbed an entire Death Star, or Star Destroyer, Death Star, that'd be insane. Grabbed a Star Destroyer and pulled it down to the ground and crashed it into the planet.
Right.
Darth Vader grabbed
We've
a
seen him
shuttle
do
in
that,
Kenobi,
yeah. Mhm.
stopped the shuttle and pulled it back down to the ground. Well, now you have Rey, who theoretically can do the same thing with hardly any training at all from a physical Jedi.
True.
And so it's like, okay. So like when I first saw that, that was part of me. It was like, well, that's crazy. And then like, obviously now I'm like.
So counterpoints to that?
Of course.
Rey's raw power was enough that it scared Luke. Luke,
That's
the son
true.
of Darth Vader,
That's true, yeah.
said, I've never seen raw power this strong before,
Right.
except for one other person. It didn't scare me enough then. It does now.
Right.
That one other person being Ben, who turns into Kylo, right?
Of course.
So we already have, that means she's got, although untrained, a crazy high amount of raw power.
Which shows it too, because she let go. She lost herself.
Counterpoint two
theoretically.
is we don't really know exactly how dyads work. And if she's a dyad, she's 2 in 1.
Well, that's what Kylo
Does she
said
has
as
the
well.
force capabilities, like raw strength of 2 individuals using
Yeah.
the force at the same time? Is that why Ben and Rey seem so raw strength powerful to Luke? Because anytime one of them is doing something, it's as if
The
there's
other one is
2
as
people
well. Yeah, right.
using full force
Right,
capabilities.
right.
I feel like that explains a little bit about why they seem like their raw strength is so high,
Well, that would
even
make
before
sense,
they're
yeah.
trained.
Right.
Because like that's the whole dyad thing. It's
Right.
interesting. So I could buy into either one of those.
Well,
being
and I
like-
guess hearing it that way is kind of the thing of being like the same. Like you could, okay, well, I can listen. I would believe it either way.
yeah,
So I mean, that's a really good way to put it. I mean, that's true. And we don't know a lot about dyads and how they work and stuff like that.
Right.
We do know that Kylo and Rey was a dyad, as well as the 2 girls.
yeah. Our twins, Osha and May.
Yeah. So
from the Acolyte.
there's 2 that we know. Right.
Right.
So unfortunately, they didn't dive deep enough to be like, so this is what truly happens.
Right.
When these 2 connect or whatever. So that's true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
But,
I think that could explain an interesting piece of it, because they said that it's an amount of power that is so strong it seems as though life itself can come from it.
Right.
Which is what makes Palpatine regenerate. Which is why in Acolyte it was like the planet came to life again and
Right.
stuff like that. And I feel like that means that its raw strength is like crazy high if you're tapping
Right.
into that.
Okay.
So Rey and Kylo might be some of the most powerful Force users we've seen, despite
Right.
how little they were trained.
Right. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I get that. So that's cool. So I won't argue that. I mean, that's pretty.
It
that's
kind
a
of
really,
makes sense.
Yeah.
Even discounting, lineage and a
Right.
Palpatine relation and all this,
Right.
BS. I think it's more to do with the dyad and how they were capable of
Right,
using
right.
the Force.
I do believe as well, though, that I mean, your generational is going to be
It probably
a
is.
big impact as well.
It seems
I mean,
like
you
it
have
has been.
the Luke, who was Anakin's son, who Luke turned into be one of the strongest Jedi.
Right.
Anakin was one of the strongest Jedi. You know what I
Right.
mean? So like, it makes
It
sense
has a huge
for
impact.
that, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And then obviously Palpatine being a Sith Lord and a very powerful Sith Lord and so on and so forth, and then having
Even Yoda's baby Grogu is pretty strong.
pretty strong, dude.
Yeah.
Him and Yaddle, he definitely got it from Yoda's side though, because Yaddle died like a chump. No, I'm just kidding. No, but she did die like a chump.
Yeah, it was
anyway,
kind of sad.
It sucks too. Thinking about that. That was horrible. I mean, it had to happen.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, we didn't see
Yeah.
Yaddle anymore. She died via Dooku, and so it's like okay.
Didn't they close that door?
They closed
that
the
giant
door.
door
Yeah,
that's
she was
like a gear?
wounded or whatever, I think, and they.
It's a shame she wasn't like as so small she could fit in one of them grooves.
Missed me. But no. Anyway, so when they latched onto the ship with the Force, and she
Yeah.
stopped it, and then Kylo was like trying to pull it away from her, which was kind of funny. It was like a tug and pull, like this is
Right.
mine, it's mine, And then she's getting so like caught up in the moment at the
Right.
time. She's trying so hard. She knows Chewie's on that ship. She's trying to save him as well as stop Kylo from doing whatever he's trying to do to the ship at the same time.
Yeah.
And so she's exerting all of her strength out at this point, and
Yeah,
she
yeah.
like loses it. She snaps.
Her emotions are all over the place.
It took over,
and-
right?
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden the Force lightning came out. That was crazy.
It's a wild scene. Yeah.
Like, there's only like Sidious is the only. Well, yeah, Sidious was the only Force lightning, as well as Dooku could also yield. He threw it at Yoda and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's like we only see it a little bit, like from 2 specific people. That's
Right.
it. And so it's like, oh man, that's crazy she did that. And at this point, we did not know that she was Palpatine's granddaughter.
My very first like interpretation of that scene wasn't even to leap to the fact that there's a connection to Palpatine there.
No.
My thought was, again, going to the dyad piece,
Right.
was that her and Kylo being there at the same time, she accidentally tapped into dark side, stuff.
It fed off of him
because of Kylo, and it manifested as lightning.
Right.
But then Kylo never uses lightning,
Right.
and I'm like, oh, that's weird.
Right.
Why did that happen?
Well, do you remember the trailer when the trailer came out?
They
You
made
saw
it
the
seem
dark
like
side
she
Rey,
might be evil,
right?
yeah.
The vision she saw of her being at the throne with Kylo,
Yeah.
so on and so forth. We saw that, and then that was it. We had no idea what was going on from that.
Right.
And so people were like, "Oh crap, Rey's going to turn to the dark side. Something's going to happen." And then people were like, "Well, Rey and Ben might switch. You know what I mean? Ben might come to the light side. Rey might fall.
Right.
You know, in which we saw that kind of thing happen in the Acolyte,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of strange. But anyway, so people were like throwing all these ideas around. So when we saw that happen, we were like, "Oh crap, that's really going to happen." That vision that we saw in the trailer or whatever.
This is
That's
her
Rey's
first
going to turn
steps
into
to
the dark
turning,
side, right?
yeah.
And then like you come down to find out, Kylo's telling her, about like what happened to her parents. I know the true story. He keeps going on about that.
Right.
Finally, she keeps holding the dagger, and she's seeing the visions of what had happened and what that dagger has done. It killed her dad, it killed her mom, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being, and Kylo tells her that Palpatine was looking for you.
Yeah.
And he gave the order to kill your parents. And she was like, "Well, I don't understand why he's looking for me." And he's like, "Because of how powerful you are. You're his granddaughter."
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa. So
Wait
that,
a
you know what I mean?
minute,
So
yeah.
like now that I rewatched it, it's like when the Force lightning happens, Palpatine. You know what I mean? It's like you immediately understand why she can do that at this point.
And
so
it's kind of
funny.
fitting, like all the like faces that she makes. Like I know that's a Daisy Ridley thing; it has nothing to
Right,
do with Rey,
right.
but it also fits very well.
You
'cause
could not beat Palpatine's battle faces. Like when him and Windu were battling out in the Palpatine's little throne room thing, like this. Holy crap! The not senator.
Yeah, like the
Chancellor Chambers. When they were fighting and Palpatine drew his lightsaber back, he's like, and he had like that really just weird face. He'd like grind his teeth, and stick his tongue out.
She
and
does
stuff.
that all the time.
I
She's
know,
always
dude.
grinding her teeth
It is
whenever
so
they're
funny.
walking and stuff. I'm like, that's so funny. And she does a lot of the thrusty type movements
She
with her
does,
saber.
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how much of that
The
was
only thing we're
intentional,
missing is the spin. I'm telling you, that's the only thing we're missing to put
and
the
the
cherry on
creepy
top.
dark side scream.
Right. I don't know. It's just when I was, you always talk about her face when she runs. When she runs, she makes the most horrible face. Her teeth are out and stuff like that. And so when it came to the scene of when Kylo was, and I really liked this too, when Kylo was flying his TIE to her, she was on her feet. He was going to run her over, and he was like, "I don't even screw it. I don't have to get out."
Why would I shoot her? I can.
He was going to run her over,
gonna
bro.
run her over.
It was insane.
Got all these missiles and lasers.
Well, I mean,
Hit her.
Right. He's just like, "Tuk-unk." What was that? I don't know. It's crazy. No, but when he was going with his tie and she was running away from him, so you had like the front shot of her running and I immediately started laughing and I was like, dude, Sean, I wonder what his reaction was to this scene right here, just specifically because of her
I can't
run.
stop laughing at that
I
stuff.
know, dude. It's funny.
It's goofy. It's goofy.
But no, and one thing that I really that I never really paid attention to, but I really like the background aliens and stuff like that and everything, and like the little characters that like they're aliens that might have like one line, but like some of them are funny as crap, like Nine Numb. There was 2 specific ones. One being at the beginning when they're flying the Falcon and it's Poe, Finn, and Chewie.
Yeah,
They had that alien dude inside the cockpit and stuff like that. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It's like that slug-looking dude or whatever.
Right.
So when they were hyperspace jumping,
Light speed skipping, which frustrates the crap
Yeah,
out of
I
me,
know.
but whatever.
But I mean, it was a cool scene though. I mean,
It's great. It's really cool.
Right. It's just crazy, but
Every single thing we've seen in Star Wars up to this moment is like it's
I mean,
a big deal.
He's manually like
I know
switching.
he's not doing the calculations.
No, he's just guessing, going on a whim.
Right.
Which is, and like they come into that one city or whatever, and they're right in front of buildings, and it's like, dude, how what would have happened if you didn't just whoop, right then.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, so we're in that, and so they come in, they hyperspace, they're
skipping or
they
whatever,
jump that
yeah.
one time, and there's that big like space worm thing or whatever that was like, "Blah!" And the alien behind him was like, "Blah!" He just starts freaking out. He just lets off like a super loud yell, and everybody's like, "Oops!" And then they like go around or whatever. I thought that was great because it's just him freaking out. Everybody else was calm. Chewie, Finn, Poe. They were like, "Oops!" You know.
Do you remember in the I think it's the Jedi Survivor game? That's the one with the that's the newest one. With Cal Kestis and all that. You remember when you go to the Cantina area where I forget the name of that planet, but it's where
the
Griss is now, or Griff or whatever his name is.
Grig? I don't know. GR something.
There is one of those slug-looking aliens on that planet that you can talk to. That's like right outside the door.
Yeah.
I think that's the only time I've ever seen that species.
I think so.
Is in that game and in this movie.
This movie, yeah. I'm pretty sure, because that's kind of what I was thinking too. Like this one has kind of showed you a little bit more different alien species compared to what we've seen.
Oh yeah,
like those mosquito dudes that we were talking about.
Yeah, the sequel trilogy did introduce a lot of like interesting new people,
right?
Different species and stuff. Yeah, for sure. Even though like furry looking, I don't know if they're like cat type people or whatever that are in the Resistance.
Yeah.
The guy that was handing them the records in that same exact scene, you know, he was like a weird looking guy that Kylo beheaded.
There was one of those, I think, in Battlefront 2.
Yeah, you can play as
one. Yeah. But yeah, we didn't see none of those prior to now. But yeah, there was one more alien when they went and met Lando. When he opens like that thing and he tells the guy to like move or whatever, like I guess they were in like a shuttle thing,
right.
They were in. But he like opens the thing, tells him something, and the alien just goes, "Okay."
I'll have to look that up. I don't even remember who that is.
He sounded awesome. Like he was just like it sounds like he says okay, but he was just like okay, and that was it. And I was like, I don't know why, but I loved that because Lando's like, I'm okay, and we're done, and that was it, and that was the end of the conversation.
That's my kind of thing, and I don't remember that at all. So
yeah, it's awesome, dude. It's freaking amazing.
I gotta find that.
No, but like, and then Lando's appearance in this movie was cool.
It is pretty neat,
because we haven't seen Lando in forever. He hasn't made an appearance in all the other movies.
And we know he mentions being there, like helping
due to
Luke.
Yeah, he went with Luke to go find this the map, whatever.
Yeah,
and,
they were trying to hunt down the assassin
dude,
or whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
They were looking for the Wayfinder or whatever.
Right. But Lando comes out and the stormtrooper or the first order trooper was like tells him like to stop. He's like gets on his comms. He's like, I found that, and then all of a sudden he dies from a crossbow bolt to the eye. And I thought that was hilarious because it's just Lando. You don't know it's Lando at the very second, but he's just like chilling with a crossbow in his hand. He's like, all right. I was like, that is so cool. Like that's just a cool way to like introduce an old character back.
Yeah, it is. It didn't take much convincing either because they were like, Leia needs pilots, you know, and he's like, nah, I've retired. I haven't flown in a long time.
Send
and the
Leia
next time you
love.
see him, he's like,
yeah,
I'm here. I'm ready to fly.
Yeah, right.
I do think it's funny too. Like they say this all the time, and we've seen that in all the different animated shows too. But like they often talk about the rebels or the resistance or whatever it is at that point in time, the scrappy underdogs, right? That they're always like, we need pilots. We need pilots. That's always something that is said all the time. And I'm like, you'd think that pilots, even though like it's the resistance and they're less and blah blah blah, you'd think they'd need planes more than they would need pilots.
Well,
but I guess
when you invest, like
not.
so, like they invested their money. Like we saw, like in the last episode, the code picker, whatever his name was. He explained that both sides buy weaponry from the same people, blah, 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 blah. So the rebellion, the resistance, they're going to dump whatever money they have into the equipment they need.
Right, but it's
because you're not going to pay people.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, people are going to volunteer to liberate the galaxy, which is how the rebellion and the resistance was built.
Yeah.
They just all volunteers, people from different planets, obviously, or whatever, getting together. I mean, it was the same thing in the Clone Wars. Like, you had, when the Separatists took over Ryloth.
Yeah.
The Twi'leks, they banded together just like anybody would. I mean, you know, whatever. Like if we got, like if your country got invaded, you know, you're gonna always have the group of people who band together to try to eliminate whatever the threat is.
Yeah.
And so like they did that, and so like that's kind of how all that stuff was built. And then you had the entire galaxy being squashed by the Empire or the First Order. So then you have, instead of it being like one country, it's an entire galaxy of people being like, hey, you know what? I think we're going to join these guys over here that are hiding in a hole.
That's
so
true.
like, they're always going to have that. So they spent hundreds of thousands of credits on equipment.
Just all the
But they're like, well, now
else.
that we have all this,
right,
we don't have anybody to sit in these seats.
You need people to
we
sit
have
in
to
the
find
seats,
people to do this, right?
That's wild to me. That's crazy, though.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I mean, you would think that they would have more people than they would ships.
Yeah.
Like, that's the first thought you would have. Which, then again, I mean, maybe it's just like they need pilots, bring your own ship type of deal.
That's true, too.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You bring, I'm just saying, like.
It's usually when they lose a pilot, they've also lost the ship.
Correct.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like
it's kind of a weird thing to say, you know what I mean? Like, you would what would make sense is we need more soldiers.
yeah, we need more of everything.
We need more people. We need more backing. We need something. You know what I mean? We need your help. Just say that. We need your help. We could always use help. And then when you say that, they're like, okay. And then you're like, do you have a ship? Cool. Do you want to fight? Okay, cool, awesome. You know what I'm saying? Different ways to go about that. Because somebody's going to show up without a ship, and they're going to be like, well, what am I supposed to pilot?
True.
You know what I mean?
Did you notice? So in this movie, we've got. I know you're a big fan of the Knights of Ren.
I think they're awesome.
They're really
so
cool. We get to see them even more in this one. Mm-hmm. Did you notice that the ship that they fly around in is like a modified version of the Assault? Like the lander, the drop things that the First Order troopers come out in. Theirs looks different, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it apparently has hyperspace capabilities of its own because they went to that planet, whatever that planet was called.
With Zori?
Yes. Zori Bless.
Yeah.
I forgot her name until you said it. Yeah, Zori Bless.
And Babu.
Babu's so funny, dude.
Yeah! Dude, when... Not
He's
to get off topic,
dude. He's so good.
But when they were like, when Babu was talking to them about wiping the memory of C-3PO,
right?
And C-3PO was like, I won't remember anything. And then Babu was, I can't remember exactly, but he was like, droid goes blank, 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 just like in the back.
I liked it.
I love it.
There was whether it was C-3PO just being 3PO and he was freaking out for no reason, or he was like second guessing, or he had a real solution, but right at the very end he was like, he's like, oh wait, I just came up with another idea that we could. He's like,
yeah, right. No.
I was like, Babu.
Right. Why did you do that? It is Babu, right?
Babu Frick.
Frick, yeah.
Yeah, he's so funny, dude. He's hilarious. Yeah. He even shows up like on Zori's ship at the end in the fight. I'm like, wait.
Yeah, I really think that's a good character to just kind of throw on somewhere.
It also feels like a little bit of a plot hole that she's even there because that planet got blown up.
Oh yeah.
But whatever, she made it out somehow, even though she didn't have the medallion that lets her get past the blockade, which she needed.
Yeah, I mean that was. Yeah, I mean,
that was kind of weird.
Granted, I mean, it's hard telling. I mean, she could have snuck on a freighter. Who knows, dude?
I know, but she made it sound like
there's no way
not been able to get off of that planet until just now. She managed
I'm assuming
to get this
that
thing.
the fact of being like, I don't know, maybe because of Kylo coming into the system,
had to have
they
dropped
don't have
the blockade
to do it right
for whatever reason,
whatever it
off
is.
screen.
Correct,
and we don't know.
Like Kylo enters the system, the blockade doesn't even care. They're like, oh well, we're getting ready to glass this planet. So you know what I mean? Like, so that might be the reason that she was like, this is how I'm getting out of here. I have 3 seconds. I'm gonna bust out.
Right.
Something like that. It's hard crazy. Telling. I do like her and Poe because they had a relationship or something that prior to what they were doing. And like when
this movie tries really hard to make Poe have a somewhat shady past.
Yeah, he was
and
a
we
spice
never
runner.
got that before, you know. And you're like, okay,
I like the interaction of that
cool.
where she was like, "Oh, he never told you his past. He was a spice runner," and and Finn goes, "You were a spice runner," and he goes, "You were a stormtrooper," and then Rey goes, "Were you a spice runner?" and he goes, "Were you a scavenger?" I can go on all day. I was like, "This is ridiculous." There's so many little tiny things like that in this movie, especially now, that is freaking amazing.
Even in the beginning, Poe and Rey, they're like butting heads about what to do and whatever.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You're a difficult person. You're a difficult person.
Right.
That's what you are. You know that?"
Yeah. It was.
What'd you do to my Falcon? And he's like, "What'd you do to BB-8?" Like,
right. She was so worried about the Falcon. He's worried because BB-8's missing a ring. A tree fell on him.
Her little training regiment thing was pretty cool, though. That I
did
guess
think
Leia
that
set
was
up
cool.
for her.
Yeah.
That was neat.
Yeah,
We never got to see stuff like that before.
No, not especially that intense.
Like the best
really.
thing, or the closest thing to that we got was Luke with Yoda on Dagobah.
Yeah.
And we barely got to see what Yoda had given him.
Right.
And
well, we've
was
never
like,
seen live action any of the training regiments, really, or
No.
regiments.
Yeah, like
classes,
yeah.
Basically, like in the during the Clone Wars era, we saw the younglings in the
That's
room
so
with Yoda,
different.
but they
Yeah.
disengage your lightsaber and they stand there. We have no idea what they're. I mean, they had the training droids
Right.
that were flying around.
And we know they had like stance training because we've seen them like practicing.
Right. We saw that in the
swings and
Acolyte
that
as
sort
well,
of thing.
something like that.
There's some barely a little bit of stuff we got to see in Ahsoka,
where
where
she was doing
she
with the
trained
hologram.
with the droid.
Yeah. Oh, the droid. Yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
remember
yeah,
actual combat training.
Yeah. So we saw that kind of stuff,
That
but
might be
not
the
to
only-
this intense. I mean, with Luke and Yoda, and we saw it with Grogu and Luke as well. He was doing the same thing.
That's true. He
But
did
Grogu
do
was
some
on Luke's back, and he was jumping
Grogu
around.
specific things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like we saw that stuff. So like
True.
lately we've been seeing in the new stuff more
They've
and more
been-
and more. That's a little bit more of the
Yeah.
training.
I like that.
Um,
I think that's pretty cool because it's an era of Star Wars where we didn't have any sort of governing body,
Right.
like organizing all this stuff from
It's
top down.
one person basically that's
Yeah.
running it.
Yeah.
But no, I thought it was cool. The like the tightrope walk that she did.
Mm-hmm.
While the droid, she put the blast helmet on and walked that rope or whatever. The droid was following her. I thought that was cool. And then Kylo started messing with her
Oh, yeah.
in the middle of her training, so she started freaking out and getting mad. You know what I mean? Like that was which was cool. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And then she gave the lightsaber back to Leia and was like, one day I'll be like
Yeah.
good enough to be able to take the lightsaber back or whatever.
One thing I really appreciated on this watch around that I never got the first time is, and maybe you did because it's not like it's hidden or anything.
Right.
But after General Leia passes, right, she communicates with Ben in that one critical moment to make him freeze for a moment, kind of second guess himself. Rey stabs him and then flees. And that was like everything.
That was during the water fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
And
kinda
General
cool.
Grievous.
That's a pretty funny video. It's just
Another
leaving
fine
it.
addition to my collection. He jumps off the thing.
I always thought it was that. He could have kept that saber. I know that saber had some bad memories, but so does so many other things. I don't know.
Yeah, but
Lightsabers are rare. That's all I'm
That's your
saying.
dad killer right there. Would you really keep that? It was
You
kind
could-
of a
you
cool
could-
lightsaber. I would keep it. Yeah.
That'd make it blue.
But then we
That'd
wouldn't
make
get
it
the
green.
then we wouldn't get the scene that we'll
I
talk
know,
about
I
in a
know.
minute. You know?
But the yeah, that's where I'm leading to basically. But just prior to that moment, Luke, old Luke is Force Ghost Luke. He's talking to Rey,
yeah,
and he finds her on Octo again.
yeah,
And we see his Force spirit interacting with the real world again, just like we did in 8. We saw Yoda interacting with the real world. So
right.
that's always strange to me, but
That's a whole new level of.
it asks weird
Yeah.
questions that I don't like discussing or thinking about
Right,
in,
right, right.
in Star Wars. But yeah, he catches the lightsaber when she is upset and she throws it away, and he goes to give it back to her. But he says to her in that moment that Leia came to him, to Luke, and explained that she had a vision and that at the end it needed to be both lightsabers together, and that's why he gave her the gift of Leia's saber, right? So he takes her to that secret room or whatever, the normal room, and just pulls out a block and there's Leia's saber. So it's really cool to me that was Anakin's saber and therefore Luke's. So Luke's like first saber and Leia's first saber, and those are the two blades that she used at the very end to deflect the lightning and end up actually ending Palpatine. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I guess Leia foresaw all of that happening, and I missed the part on my first watch that was an intentional thing. They didn't just give her that lightsaber saying Leia wanted you to have this because you were her pupil, which is what I thought
Leia
it was.
tapped
for some
into
reason.
the future.
She
via
actually
Force,
saw
yeah.
what was going to happen down there. Knew that Rey would need both of the
Yeah.
sabers, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's really cool. And that means she probably knew that Kylo was throwing his saber away, and so she probably got to see her son at least in some way redeemed.
Yeah.
through the Force.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a nice touch that I kind of missed the subtlety of
Right.
on my first watch.
Mm.
So I did like that.
She had the dice in her hand, didn't she?
No, I don't think so.
I could have sworn when she passed, or maybe it was just her hand that dropped down.
No, she was holding something, but I thought it was a medallion or something.
I thought it was the dice.
Maybe it was the dice. It makes sense.
I think she had the dice because I
She had the
remember
physical
R2 looked at
dice.
her or whatever and was like, "Well,
Yeah.
you remember?
She-
I think the dice. I'm pretty sure she had the dice in her hand when she died because she. I mean,
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what it was.
Yeah. I can't. I'll have to go back. I literally just watched it. Last week or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Either way, yeah, I didn't think about that either though. To be completely honest with you.
It's like it's obvious and it's right there the whole time,
Yeah.
but for some reason I didn't quite
Even on this watch,
get
though, I
that
didn't.
closure that she probably had an inkling that
This was going to have to happen.
right.
Yeah.
That obviously she would need to sacrifice herself in order to do this to get his attention even in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
But she also kind of glimpsed that there would be a payout, that
Right.
he would be redeemed.
Right.
He would have thrown away his dark saber and they would need two blades.
Right.
And she was able to kind of see all of that in the
Yeah.
future, at least to some degree.
Right.
And told Luke, "Give this blade, my blade, to Rey."
To Rey, yeah.
I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay,
And she buried them both in sand.
true,
Ugh.
true. Also, I don't know why Leia didn't have her blade with her. She had decided not to use a lightsaber anymore, and
Well, she was a general. Well, I say that. I mean, there was generals and.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? But whatever.
At some point, she decided she doesn't need a lightsaber anymore.
I mean, she stayed on the ship a lot.
She stayed on the planet. She was
Yeah.
just a commander,
Yeah,
like
she was just a
saying,
plane
"This is what we're
coordinator,
doing.
yeah.
This is what we're doing."
So I mean,
But
it's all right.
it's
I mean, it's Leia.
interesting.
That's the Leia we know. That's you know what I mean. She's the ground general, whatever. So I mean,
Right.
it's fine. We're kind of jumping all around.
I know.
We haven't talked about we talked about the map a little bit. Also, I completely forgot when they went into the. Oh, let's talk about this. They fly now.
I almost interrupted you to say it because you were talking about the planet with Lando and all that stuff. They fly now.
I thought that
It's so silly.
it is, but
I like
it.
I like it too.
We say it a lot in
I know.
anything we do. So that's funny. I like that little speeder bike chase. I did like the First Order bikes. 'Cause,
Yeah.
you know, they were like, I mean, they had like the big front tire, like a track tire.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It was almost like a snowmobile, but made for sand.
Right, but for the jet troopers to take off, like to give them the extra boom,
launched,
they had
yeah.
like the back end would like launch like a catapult to throw them up just enough to be able to get that little bit of boost to go.
Yeah.
I thought those were cool.
That is pretty cool.
But no, when they went through and they did all that, and then they ended up in like that. I thought when I first watched it before they sunk down in the sinking fields.
Right.
I was like, oh, what is that? Just like burnt stuff? Like what's happening?
Right.
And then they started sinking. And then 3PO, I can't remember what he said. He said something about like, this is not again or something like that. I can't remember what he said, but it made me laugh. Anyway, they fall through it, and like, how lucky is it that those sinking fields just had a cave underneath it?
And it's exactly where she needed to go.
Yeah,
I
right.
know.
You know, I mean, granted, I mean, I'm sure probably that happens, whatever. And maybe the sinking fields were created by the serpents that are in there.
It seemed like it was, yeah.
I completely forgot that was the scene. The first time that scene was the first time that we saw her heal, Force heal
True.
the serpent.
And I wanted to bring this up to you because I had a few questions about that.
Yeah.
So I know that it's controversial. A lot of people hate the idea of force healing and
Right.
blah, blah, blah. But this is in between two movies where she's been training the whole time.
Yeah.
And we now know that in between the last movie and the start of this one, she had the original Jedi texts. And we are able to see in this movie that she's been perusing through them.
Yeah.
That's how she already knew information about the Wayfinder and all that. When she walked up to that snake, she knew exactly what she wanted to do and did it on her first attempt. Which is asking me two questions. Did those super ancient Jedi texts that most Jedi didn't have access to have instructions and information about healing? And two, she's been practicing it while she's been training. Because she was quite confident she'd be able to do it. She just walked right up and
I don't
she
know
just
if
did it.
it was the fact of that she had been practicing it and whatever, other than her reading it in the Jedi text and being like, okay, well, this thing's going to eat us. I mean, really, Poe shooting it in the face with a blaster is not going to do anything probably to the serpent.
Yeah.
You know, like we saw on
Right.
the moon in the Clone Wars, there was that big one
Oh, yeah,
on the
yeah.
moon base, and it like they blasted the crap out of it, and it cut up and dipped out. You
Oh,
know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Like it was just whatever. So I think I don't know. I mean, she could have practiced it. We don't know what happened in
Right.
the time
And there
in
was
between.
clearly time where there was training and stuff like
Right.
that.
I mean, it could have happened. She could have hurt herself, and Leia was like, "You can do this." You know,
Well,
she can't, but like
right.
Leia can, or whoever has the.
Well,
Force
that's what I was
capability,
thinking
whatever.
is like trying to find a way to explain why we've never seen that in
Right.
our time with Jedi.
Mhm.
And I was like, our time with the Jedi, they never read these ancient texts. They're hidden away from the Jedi.
Yeah.
And they've been on Octo for who knows how long.
Right.
These are supposedly the original ones.
Right.
Maybe that's where the healing knowledge came from.
It's a possibility.
And
I mean,
that's-
that would be the biggest thing to make sense of.
That's
as to why we never saw it when we could have seen it.
And
it
why
would
she
have
didn't
been
think it was a
perfect.
big deal. She might have thought all
Right.
Jedi could do this because
Right.
this is from the first
I mean, her and
texts.
Luke never sat down and read the books. You know what I mean?
I know.
He
Yeah.
he didn't tell her. Nobody has done this until literally I just found this book. Right.
That's
So
crazy.
like it's
Yeah.
kind of the thing of who knows. And like I said, all this time went by. Whatever. You don't know what happens in
True.
between times. But anyway, when she did that, I was like, holy crap! I completely forgot that she healed that thing.
Yeah.
When they were in the cave when they first fell down, and Rey like ignites her lightsaber as a light, and then Poe takes his flashlight. He's like clicking, and then Finn is like. You know?
So good. 100%.
Yeah.
That's what you and I would do.
Very much so.
Oh, you got your flashlight lightsaber? Let me just. Oh.
And you heard it too, like it was like clink. And then you heard like the little click.
I know.
of his
I know.
of his
I like
flashlight.
that so much.
But that's what I'm going about being like this movie, especially has so many like the comedic side of it is
Right.
very, very good.
Oh, yeah,
in this movie. Even when in the same thing. When they were sinking and Finn was like, Ray, I never told you, but, and then he falls
Right,
and then they get down and she was like, so what were you going to tell me? He goes,
Don't worry about it.
I'll tell you later.
No, no, no.
And he was like, and she said, well, just tell me now. He's like, no, not right now. I'll tell you later. And then Poe's like, why is it? Because Poe's here? You know? And Finn was like, yes, that's exactly why.
I like that. Like he brings it up like three
He
more
does.
times.
Well,
Like,
it was
they're
when they
about
got
to be
arrested.
executed
Right,
too.
right.
And he's like, "Is now? Will you finally tell me now? What were you going to tell Ray?"
He's like, oh, I'm sorry. Is now a bad time?
Poe is very much like the character I
Yeah,
see
yeah.
myself as stuffed in
Right.
that universe. Like,
He's
that's-
awesome. Like he's
I love
funny.
it.
He doesn't care.
Sarcastic,
Like
he's
he'll
great.
make anything, any bad circumstance, he will turn into being like, I mean, we're probably gonna die, so like, why not? You know, the dagger though, that's one
Yeah.
of the things I wanted to jump to. The dagger.
Yeah, yeah. Real quick though, while we're
Of course,
while we're
yeah,
still
yeah.
there, I did want to say there's potentially one other weird thing that about the way she healed that snake. It wasn't quote unquote force healing. When BB-8 comes up to her and asks, and we don't hear what he's saying, but she's like, no, I just transferred some of my life energy into him.
Yeah.
And that's how she healed him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, siphoning life energy is really like a Sith technique, if you think about it.
Yeah.
That's really maybe not something that was going to be in the Jedi text, because that's taking life energy from one thing and giving it to something else is very much a Sith technique.
Well, now we've talked about
Except
before,
she used it the opposite way. She did it
right.
she-
there
and-
was it's called life drain.
right.
I think is the technique that the
And-
Sith would use.
And we've seen ancient Sith doing stuff
Yeah.
like that, and I'm like, wow, that's an interesting piece to maybe there being some innate Palpatine connections.
Well, either-
maybe that could explain
yeah.
some of
And
why
that's
she did it.
possible. But then again, like I said, you have life, like a life drain, which the Sith would use. So of course the Jedi are going to combat that with the good version of that and be life give.
Sure.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
true.
So like you kind of have those two things, and it's like everything we see, the Sith will have one thing, like this certain thing of doing something, and the Jedi always have the complete opposite that will combat that.
That's a good
And
point.
it's almost
yeah.
every single thing in the Force that each of them have. The other one has the same thing, but reversed.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of
It's not that the Force is innately good or bad. It's how the wielder is using the same technique.
it could go either
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
so like it could be that, or maybe the ancient Jedi text.
Just have straight up healing texts information.
Well,
in there.
that
We
or
don't know.
maybe back thousands of years ago,
Oh,
they
they've got knowledge in
practice
there.
both.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I'm
could
saying?
be.
Who knows? Because we've talked about this, me and you
I know.
personally, about what about what the Jedi
how they've
back
evolved and
thousands of years
changed
ago,
and-
like the first
yeah.
generation of Jedi, we have no idea what they did, how they used the Force or anything.
Right,
They
what
could
kind
have
of
done
rules,
both, and that's how
yeah.
the Sith were made, because they knew, like,
Right.
they didn't know good from bad, so
a lot
they
of
practiced
their
both sides.
Things
and
they
then,
did were not, certainly only good.
Right.
I mean, we've got all the stories about them, wiping people's minds or
Mhm.
locking your minds or doing something weird in that essence, and
Mhm.
that's a kind of a canon thing now
Mhm.
because of the Acolyte. They at least discussed the fear of don't mess with my mind now.
Right.
It seems like they definitely would do things to punish people, and it's no longer just EU to talk about that. So,
Mhm.
yeah, the Jedi definitely could have some things in their first texts that
Mhm.
are not necessarily pure good, quote
Right.
unquote.
Right.
Yeah, I like where you're at on that.
Um.
For sure.
So real quick, we're just going to run through
Yeah.
the couple last few things. One thing I want to talk about was the dagger, which me and you both hate, and we were talking about how that dagger was made to of the wreckage of the Death Star, how it was exactly made to counter where the throne room would be in the wreckage.
Right.
And this dagger initially was supposed to be around for thousands of years, right? Or am I wrong? Or hundreds of years?
I
it
mean,
should have
if he had it, then it would have been only the time after
the fall
the
of
the Death Star 2 blew up.
Correct. So I couldn't remember exactly how it was worded about how long it's been around.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So like
either.
you think about it, it's an antique, whatever, it's a relic. So like in your mind, and I think this is why I had such a hard time with it, especially when I watched the movie the first time, was that in my mind it was something that has been around for a long time. It's like, well, how the crap does that work? But then it was like, obviously now, whatever, that you think about it, you rewatch it, whatever, that it was created after the Death Star had been destroyed. Okay.
All right.
So instead of finding the
actual Wayfinder thing.
The Wayfinder, thank you. I
Yeah.
could not think of what it was called. Instead of finding, you knew where the Wayfinder was.
Right.
Nobody else knows about the Wayfinder. Theoretically, nobody should know about the Wayfinder.
Right.
Except for the Sith
Palpatine himself.
Palpatine himself and the Sith
And then
followers.
the ones he wanted to know how to get to where he was.
Exactly.
So his
instead
little
of
cult.
finding it, which Dude Man with the dagger was going to go find it, somebody had, like, it had to have been after the wreckage. It had, like, Sidious had to have put it out there, being like, I want this to be made.
Right.
Instead of going to get it immediately, wait until it needs to be found, and then this specific person will find it. This is how you're going to find it. Blah blah blah. Like, it's constructed as a map, obviously, after the fall. So, like, I used to hate it. I still don't
Right.
like it. I still think it's stupid. Just go get it.
I
You know what I
think
mean?
it's-
Like, you
it's-
have somebody who you want to go get it. Just go get it.
I know. I think
Or
it's
put it
horribly
somewhere
dumb
else.
for a bunch of reasons. But if you're standing 2 feet to the left, that debris no longer works.
Right.
I mean,
You have to be in the
If it's
exact
been 100 years,
location.
that ground doesn't look the way it looks. The debris would have moved in the ocean. There's so many
Sand covers
millions
up
of
debris,
things that
yeah.
it's so annoying. And then the little thing comes out and points to, like, where on the debris once the
Right.
edges of the dagger land.
Right.
All of that's very frustrating.
It is.
But
It's
whatever.
lucky. Like, so, like, the thing is that, like, they got to the exact point at the exact time at the right place and put it down. They're like, there it is. They found it. I was like, mother trucker. I don't like it.
Right.
I really don't.
I don't
But at the same time, it's like, I really hated it before. I still hate it, just not as much, because
Right.
now I understand what it would,
Honestly,
whatever. But
on
like,
my next watch of it now, the
Mm.
thing I dislike more than that, which I agree with you, it was very frustrating to me.
right.
But now it's almost more frustrating when I think about the fact that C-3PO says he's able to read the thing on the thing, and he's forbidden from saying what's on it, and what's on it are apparently just coordinates, because when he does
For the moon of Endor. Or
Right.
the moon.
so he
of
says
Endor,
it's on
whatever.
Endor and blah blah blah, and he says what it is. Once they wipe his memory, and that's what they do to counteract this, right? But he says prior to that he knows what it is. He has the information. He's just forbidden from saying it.
Yeah, his programming will not let him speak the Sith
Right. But he knows.
text.
And he says that.
Yeah.
Why didn't C-3PO just go to the Falcon and say, I'm going to plot the course real quick. Let's go to Endor. That made me more irritated than I'm like, why didn't any of them say, wait, you know
Can
it?
3PO fly? Have we ever seen 3PO fly a ship?
No, I don't think so.
Right,
I mean,
so
I think
maybe
in
he
one of the
can't-
animated things,
Oh, that's
they're
possible.
in
Yeah,
there
yeah.
alone, and him and R2 are alone in that Star Cruiser thing on
In
Galaxy's Edge.
Naboo's or whatever. Oh, he does fly the one in Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
That's weird.
But
Anyway.
but yeah, I think it's just weird. I mean, he could have just
I
plotted a
agree.
course.
I didn't
I mean, he
think
could have
about
done
that at
anything.
all.
I'm like, that's
I
kind of
did
weird.
like the 3PO reboot, and like
Yeah.
he
It gave him the chance to be a hero for once in all of the entire
when
series.
he turned and looked at
It
them
actually is
and
sad.
said, and Poe was like, what are you doing? Or Finn said it, one of the two, and he was like, I'm just taking one last look at my friends, because he won't know who they are.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, bro.
Yeah, it actually was sad.
That
I was like,
sucks.
oh man.
Yeah.
You
It kind of
always-
punches you a little bit, you
He's
know?
this, silly comic relief character for 9 movies.
Mhm. Yeah, and when he says that, I was like, God,
I'm like, oh.
that hurts. That's like a good punch to
Yeah.
you right there. So we'll go to the end. We get to Exegol. Rey's there. Kylo's coming. He lands down. He's good. Or Ben. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not
no,
even
it's
Kylo.
all right. And not to dwell on it for a real long time, but that's another thing that made me mad. So Ben is left on Endor. Right? He's left there on Endor after they're
was
fighting.
Endor? It was a moon by Endor,
Yeah, whatever.
I think.
Where the debris fell down.
Yeah.
That's where he's at,
Mhm.
right? So it's in the Endor system.
Right.
And that's where he's been left. His ship has been taken by Rey.
Yep.
The Wayfinder was in Rey's ship. Was in Kylo's ship that Rey took.
Right.
She takes it to Octo after that and burns his ship, and then whatever. The Wayfinder's fine inside it, so she steals it from that, puts it in Luke's X-wing, and she goes to Exegol first.
Yeah.
Transmits the coordinates so that the rest of the Resistance will know. She sends it out to them, right? So they can now follow the path because of her.
Right.
But Kylo shows up, or Ben.
He's flown there already.
He remembers how to plot through that storm by
Probably.
memory?
Didn't he fly through it by himself the first time anyway?
No, with the Wayfinder he did.
Oh.
That's built into his ship
Right.
through its navigation system.
Right. I mean, maybe.
That's crazy. And he flew in a TIE fighter. An old Imperial TIE fighter taken from the debris of the Death Star.
Yeah.
From one system to another system.
Yeah.
Do TIE fighters have hyperdrives?
Well, the ones that hyperspace jumped with the Millennium Falcon do.
Yeah, the First Order ones.
Mm.
The ones that would have been in the Death Star are old.
Are
if
old,
you
yeah.
look,
The
it's
old ones
old
do
one.
not. Yeah, the old models do not have.
But he shows up on Exegol.
Right. Took a
Egg.
while. Took a while.
Years.
I mean, she had enough time to go to Octo and do all this stuff and whatever. It took like 4 years. We
Anyway,
had no idea.
Anyway, that's small plot hole. It's not a
crazy.
big deal. But
Weird.
it's one of
I
the dumb
agree.
things.
It is strange.
You see when the ship
Right.
lands and Ben comes running out.
Yeah.
The ship is like already landed, and you see Ben running.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's
I
an
need a
old
hero.
TIE fighter, like an Imperial TIE fighter.
Yeah.
I guess he found one still fine in the wreckage.
Did you ever see that edit of him running and fighting, and it was the "I Need a Hero" song?
Yeah.
That was pretty good. Anyway, so yeah,
But
I don't know.
yes.
That is something.
He made
that
it
I didn't
there
think
by
about.
memory on the star maps and in a ship that didn't
I mean,
have
if you've flown it before, because he's been there once or twice.
we
Whatever,
don't know how
times,
many,
right?
but maybe
We saw
he's
the
been
first
there a
time he's
bunch.
been there via
I
the
don't
beginning of
know.
the movie, because he first met Palpatine at this time.
Supposedly,
So-
even the Sith troopers that were there couldn't leave without information. That was the whole point
Yeah.
of that battle, was the Star Destroyers would be trapped there if they could stop the antenna that was sending out the signal.
Right.
So, like, even the people who were there couldn't leave.
It's amazing how they got that many people there.
Yeah,
With,
it is. It's ridiculous.
That fleet was crazy though.
it was a really
Dude,
cool scene.
It was.
You get a little
had,
bit of
like,
everybody.
Old Empire, New Empire, Sith followers.
right?
That whole
Crazy cultists and
dude. That whole scene, and we'll get to that now.
yeah,
That whole like when Rey confronts Palpatine, and you have all the Sith followers back there. It's a stadium full of cloaked people,
Yeah.
hundreds of people that are that are there to support the Sith, not just Palpatine.
I know.
The
Yeah.
Sith religion, right?
Yeah.
It's like, holy crap. Jar Jar was up there.
I'm sure he was there, man.
Yeah.
He had to be.
Yeah. Whoopsie. He went to the wrong place by accident. No, but you had all these Sith followers, whatever, and then you have Kylo come down. The Kylo's whole entrance thing was cool. Him running and not looking, blasting a dude.
Yeah.
He did the Han Solo,
Yeah.
just like his dad.
It's true.
When the Knights of Ren came out, which unfortunately, I hate that they died. Like, I mean, it had to happen.
Right.
But like, I do like that Kylo, who was the leader of the Knights of Ren, was the one who ended the Knights of Ren.
True.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it is.
So they all circled around beating the crap out of him and stuff like that. He's, Kylo, Ben's getting, he's getting beat up, whatever.
Yeah, he's doing his best, but with no weapons, no.
It's hard to fight him. They're tough, whatever. And so, they're there and they're like, oh yeah, we got him. This is it, dude. You betrayed us, whatever. You're gonna die here, And then they do the Force thing, because now, prior to this point, we saw Rey and Kylo fight.
Yeah.
Just through their connection. They weren't with each other.
Right.
But they fought through the Force connection they had. And so we know that they can, and we saw, obviously, they almost touched hands, stuff like that.
Yeah, there's been water, there's been other
The helmet
things.
flew from his ship.
Right. It's their connection
area.
getting stronger and stronger.
Correct.
Was allowing more and more things to
Right, things could
through.
travel.
Yeah.
In just this connection, which is crazy. And so with that, we come to this scene where Rey's doing her thing, whenever she puts the lightsaber behind her back, and Kylo grabs it from behind his back and pulls it out. And I love this scene so much.
It's so cool.
Because all the Knights of Ren all backed up and were like, whoa. Like, they were like, what the crap? And Kylo just goes, well, what are you going to do?
He has a little shrug.
Right.
And then,
I loved it, dude. It was awesome.
It is really, really cool.
Kicked the crap out of him,
Yeah.
But I love that scene. And then he goes in there, and then they're together or whatever. They're, hey, we're not, we're going to take you down. Palpatine does his thing, fucking zaps Ben down that.
Right.
It was supposed to be like a
Ravine
cliff or whatever. Yeah. Zaps him down there. Well, whatever happens, Rey starts, at the end of the movie, when it comes to her fighting Palpatine, and he's got the Force lightning coming at her. Dude, the whole thing with the Jedi voices, who are basically, she has been trying to tap to the Jedi before her.
Right.
In the beginning of the movie, she told Leia,
right.
I can't do it, all this stuff, whatever. And that was part of her training, was to tap into that.
Right.
And so she couldn't do it, whatever. And so at this point where she absolutely needed it, she was able to. And she had all the voices of the Jedi that were backing her at this point.
Yeah.
And they were which we talked about before anyway, especially we talked about on the pod, we've talked about it a lot, just me and you.
Yeah.
The voices that were coming through were the actual actors and actresses of these voices.
Yeah, I love that. It's great.
That was like when we were in the theater, me and my dad, we were sitting there, and the voices are coming over, and Dad's like, "Oh, Qui-Gon, oh, that's Obi-Wan," but I'm over here like, "Oh, I'm like thinking of every single Jedi that I hear, and I'm like, this is crazy." You know what I mean? Like, I'm sitting there, it was like such a proud moment.
Yeah,
it was so cool.
Neat. It's very neat.
But the fact that all that happened, and she had been able to be so strong in the Force, which obviously we know, and then able to
finally tune in
with the prior Jedi before her,
right,
to get the strength as well to back that, to finally destroy the Sith,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's just a super insane scene.
Yeah.
As well as writing. I mean, honestly,
it is cool.
That was really great to me.
I thought so too, because they did the same thing on the flip side. Obviously, Palpatine was using his power to tap into all of the Sith.
Right.
So it was genuinely supposed to be complete all light side versus all dark side right here, and that was like a bigger clash than the two people standing there.
Right.
And I'm like, that's a really amazing moment.
Yeah,
for sure.
It really is. It was the light versus the dark. It wasn't, like you said, it wasn't Maul versus Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't Dooku versus Obi-Wan. It was the light versus the dark.
Yeah.
And that is such an insane, to think about, that is such an insane clash.
Yeah,
because you have Sith Lords, you have all,
just
dude,
from eons.
crazy.
Yeah, time back that we don't even know on both sides.
Exactly.
Really
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But, you think about all the Sith, all the ones we know are stupid powerful.
I know.
And then all the Jedi we know
right.
are stupid powerful, you know? I mean, they're all strong. Granted, they all fell due to this one specific Sith Lord, but it doesn't matter. It wasn't dark. I mean, if it was just Sidious trying to fight these Jedi and
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
he used everything because he knew he couldn't do it alone, obviously.
Right.
So that's why all the stuff.
Also,
happened,
when he absorbed like their power to regenerate his own life, because it was a dyad, and he was like, "Ooh, tasty! I like this."
Yeah.
And he starts to like regenerate his flesh and all that.
Crazy.
Now all of a sudden he looks cool. He puts on some new pajamas.
Yeah,
he looks great, right? And he's like got the red velvet, and he's like, "Yeah, I look pretty slick. I'm a nice looking old man. Look at me." And then he blasts the lightning into the space so that he can like EMP blast and disable every ship up there. That's specifically only the enemy ships, by the way. That guy has got some insane
Well,
power at that
we've always
point.
talked about
Oh my-
Sidious being stupid strong anyway.
That was a cool display to me to be like, wow, that was really amazing.
I mean, you have his personal raw strength as well as everything that he's been absorbing.
Yeah,
this entire time he's been in hiding,
wild.
And so
Very
it
wild.
is just stupid. And it goes to show you again, once again, you have literally the power of the dark. I'm gonna take the mic with me. You have the power of the tunk. You have the power of the dark side, the entire thing.
I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that it to think about, and I know once again he absorbed it all from the prior Sith as well as the Dyad. At this point, he's been draining whatever.
Right.
But to think about just the raw strength that came from that was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it was insane.
Yeah, so I think that'll probably be a pretty good spot. We can call it a little break there, and then we'll come back with a little unique game, and we'll see how that goes.
That works, dude.
Cool. All right, thanks for joining back in here. We're going to be playing a little game that I made up for you. I know it's a little bit of a mystery. You don't know what's going on, but
I like when you make things up for me.
I hope that you like it and it's fun. But I call it The Path of Peril.
Wow.
It's going to be kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure like story game. So I'll explain how it works, and we'll just jump right into it. Hopefully it works out and you enjoy it.
Right, okay.
We'll see how it goes. But basically, the way it works is you have 3 hearts, okay? When they're gone, you lose the game.
Just like Mario Kart.
Just like Mario Kart.
Heck yeah, dude.
Your character is going to be based on the squad that you picked in our last episode.
Okay.
So just as a refresher, you are a smuggler. You're the pilot of the Millennium Falcon. Your co-pilot is Chewie, and your droid companion is R2.
Okay.
Of course, you had like a Lothcat pet, but for the purpose of this, he's going to stay on the ship.
Oh.
So our story is going to be you land on an unknown planet in the Outer Rim, following a lead that spoke of treasure in the center of a long-abandoned Jedi temple. Your mission is to find the treasure within the temple and escape. But you must beware, for this path is fraught with peril.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, good. I'm glad.
All right.
All right, so you've landed at the base of the temple, and you make your way to the front door. The temple appears to be mostly ruins, and the front door looks completely caved in with stone and rocks.
Okay.
You have 3 choices.
Okay.
Do you have R2-D2 scan the area? Do you walk around the perimeter looking for another way in? Or do you ask Chewie to blast the rocks with his bowcaster?
I want to ask R2 to scan the area.
R2 scans reveal a hole in the ground near the left of the entrance that seems to tunnel inside the temple, and you make your way inside. The tunnel leads to a cavern that's underneath the temple. The air is cool, and the walls and ground are lined with beautiful, large, glowing crystals. There appears to be a faint path around the crystals that leads to a doorway at the far side of the cavern. Do you reach out and touch one of the crystals? Cautiously proceed forward towards the doorway? Send R2 first to scout the way.
Probably cautiously maneuver around.
You're going to cautiously maneuver around?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so you slowly and carefully make your way around the crystals and towards the doorway. You step over a trap door, and at the end of the cavern, you look back and you see Chewie brush against one of the last crystals. By stepping over the trap door, I mean you saw it because you were proceeding cautiously, if that's not clear.
You're right.
So yeah, Chewie brushes against one of them crystals. When that happens, every crystal in the room begins to emit blinding white light and causes the temperature in the room to skyrocket. You all rush through the doorway. Chewie's fur is a little singed, but you're all okay. You haven't lost any hearts. You're choosing all the right things so far.
Thank you, sir.
You, Chewie, and R2 follow the hallway on the other side of that doorway until it opens up to reveal a vast underground clearing. Sunlight streams through cracks in the cave ceiling, illuminating a serene pond surrounded by lush trees and vibrant flora. The air is fresh, and the sound of water trickling into the pond creates a peaceful ambiance. At the pond's edge, you spot a large, fat, sea cow-looking creature staring at you with beckoning eyes. Do you drink milk directly from the creature's udders while it stares at you? Climb a tree to get a better view of your surroundings? Or push onward? You're here to find treasure, not camp at a lake.
I want to drink some of that milk.
What would Jordan do in that situation? You've chosen to drink milk directly from the creature's udders while it watches you?
Yeah.
Okay. You aggressively squirt green milk from the creature's udders into your mouth, splashing lots of it all over your face. Chewie looks at you in disgust, but the milk is refreshing. Gain a heart.
So I have 4?
You have 4 hearts now.
Oh, wow.
You spot an exit and decide to head out after your milky rest stop.
Sounds gross. I had a milky rest stop on the way here.
Congratulations, you're doing great, man.
Thanks, buddy.
I was worried the game might end early, but you're hitting all the right ones.
I honestly thought that creature was going to eat me or something when I go up and start trying to do that.
The exit you discovered is a climb up a slanted rock face and through a small hole near the top. You fit through fine, but it's a really tight squeeze for Chewie, especially since he has to carry R2 up. Climbing through the hole, you find yourself in what must be one of the lower rooms of the temple. It's a circular room with a single closed stone door as the exit. Several ancient, apparently powered down droids are arranged around the perimeter of this room.
Uh-oh.
There's a pedestal in the middle of the room holding a box that appears to have a complex locking mechanism on it.
I've played this game before. Where's the ball?
This is a different D&D adventure. This is different. I think that's why you're doing so good, because you're used to all the D&D adventures.
Yeah, right. You can't get me when I'm the master, all right, buddy?
I'm the one that gets you.
I've set these traps before.
All right, so you have 3 choices on this as well.
Okay.
Do you try to force open the stone door
Of course.
as the exit? Do you want to have R2 scan one of the droids? Or do you want to examine the box's locking mechanism?
Probably. Examine one of the droids.
Have R2 scan one of the droids?
Yeah.
Okay.
While I'm checking the box. No, I'm just kidding. He's like to use my free action as.
All right. So R2 scans one of the droids, and he discovers that the droids are functional, but they are in a state of slumber. He says that they are designated as guards, and he advises against messing with anything that might trigger them.
That's a freaking box.
Unfortunately, in the last episode, you chose to speak the language of Wookiees and not droids, so you have no idea that R2 is saying this to you, and while he's saying it, you awkwardly push one of the droids over.
Huh. I forgot about that. Chewie doesn't understand either.
Doesn't matter.
Chewie's like, oh, that makes sense. What are you doing?
Immediately afterwards, the droids surrounding you begin to wake. They pull out vibro staffs. You have a very limited amount of time to think. Knowing your current health situation, which is currently 4 hearts, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Do you choose to hide behind Chewie and scream for help?
Well.
Shoot first, ask questions later, or ask R2 to shut them down?
How many droids are there?
There's, we'll call it like 8. There's a decent number of them.
Let's blast your way out of there. You know what I mean?
Shoot first,
Yes,
ask questions
sir.
later?
Yeah.
Nice. All right, you pull out your blaster pistol and rapid fire on every enemy you see. You even stop a droid that was about to stab Chewie right in the back. After a short skirmish, your team emerges victorious, but you and Chewie were both injured in the fight. You lose a heart, however, Chewie feels like he owes you a life debt because you saved his life.
Ah.
As the final droid hits the ground, the alarms turn off that were sounded when you pushed one of the droids over. As the security alarm stops blaring, this causes the lockbox in the middle of the room to open, and the stone door that was blocking the exit begins to open, slides open. You head over to that lockbox and check on your prize, and you find a fully functional, intact Jedi holocron.
Huh.
You know that this is worth a lot of money in the right hands, and so you scoop up your trophy and you head out the door. In front of you is another circular room with various Jedi adornments and crumbled statues throughout. There are 2 other doorways that used to head to other rooms, but they're now also caved in and inaccessible. You see a large arched balcony window over to the left.
Okay.
Approaching the window, you see that it opens out onto a narrow ledge, overlooking a breathtaking view of that underground clearing with the pond that you stopped at earlier. The ledge is covered in moss and small flowers. Following along the ledge is a dangerously narrow path that appears to lead to the bottom of the clearing. Do you climb onto the ledge and attempt to carefully climb down along this narrow path? Do you... There's only 2 choices on this one. Aim for the bushes.
How high up am I?
I mean, you can see it's a couple stories.
All right.
But you would guess a couple stories, probably.
I rolled a natural 20 on my athletics.
Oh!
So I would like to... I'm going to climb down the ledge.
You're climbing down the ledge?
Yeah.
Okay.
The whole mountain's going to fall.
I mean, your only choices were that or just...
Is that sea cow still down there?
You can see the sea cow. He's still staring at you, too.
I'm trying to show off for the guy.
If you were trying to show off, I think you'd leap.
That's true.
Assassin's
I'll
Creed
leap,
style.
Call!
All right, so you
I'm gonna
climb
go,
down the
yeah,
ledge.
yeah.
Okay. So you carefully climb out onto the ledge, but the moss makes it very slippery.
Oh, crap.
You lose your footing, and you nearly fall. But Chewie grabs your arm at the last second and saves you.
Wow.
You continue down the path until you reach the pond. Good thing he seemed to have owed you a life debt in this situation.
Weird. Now it's over. Oh, it's a life debt, though.
You almost died.
Almost died. Ah, yeah,
You saved your life.
Well, what happens if I aim for the bush? You just grab me? Hold on, buddy.
I can tell you, I've got a branch for every one of the choices. So.
I know you do.
All right, so you continue backtracking down towards the entrance until you get to the doorway leading back to that room that's filled with crystals. You can feel the extreme heat from the other side of the door when the crystals erupted and all that blinding light came out. You know you need a plan to get through and escape unharmed. Do you ask the team for ideas? Sprint to the other side as fast as possible? Or tell Chewie to shoot the biggest crystal?
Oh, shoot that crystal, Chewie. Blast it, baby. Chewie's gonna die. God dang it.
Just want you to know that throughout the course of this story, all of you had many chances to die, just so you know.
Huh. And this is where Chewie dies.
You flip open the door, and Chewie takes aim at the first large crystal coming out of the ground. Boom! Direct hit. The crystal shatters, and it stops emitting light. The temperature begins to drop. One by one, he shoots them all, and the room begins to cool enough for you all to walk through it.
Oh, wow.
You climb back out of the hole, and you find yourself at the entrance to the temple.
Okay.
With the treasure securely in hand, you, Chewbacca, and R2 are now back at the entrance to the temple. Your path was fraught with peril, but your courage and quick thinking have seen you through. As you step into the sunlight, the ancient ruins behind you begin to crumble, but you know you've conquered its secrets. You board the Falcon, its engines roaring to life, as your co-pilot takes his place by your side. Your trusty droid plugs in and plots your next course. You've all survived.
Yes.
The holocron glistens in your cargo hold, a testament to your bravery and determination.
Let's go.
You lift off, and you head home. Congratulations! You've navigated the path of peril, and you've emerged victorious.
Let's go.
The galaxy is now a little brighter today.
Heck
thanks
yeah,
to
dude.
You.
Heck yeah.
Congratulations.
Look at that. I could be a smuggler.
You hit literally everyone right. You did everything flawlessly.
Honestly,
I put
it's
so
all
many
because
traps.
it's all because of that sea cow. I'm telling you that right now.
I didn't think you'd grab on the sea cow.
Of course I would.
R2, you wouldn't have been able. He could have died in the very first one if you chosen a different one. And
What if he went out first or whatever?
Yeah, if you sent him to scout, he was going to hit the trap door and he was going to fall down and die. And then you would not have him available for
Just tell me
other
anything,
areas,
yeah.
so he wouldn't have been able to scan the droids and stuff
Or to
like
shut him
that.
down if I decided.
If you had leaped off, he was going to save you with his jetpacks. But if he was dead, he wouldn't have been able to. So you'd have just
Right.
fallen and hurt yourself.
Okay.
If you didn't save Chewie, that was there was 3 different options. If you didn't choose the one that saved Chewie,
Yeah.
you would have gotten hurt there. You would have fallen. He wouldn't have had the life debt to grab you. All that
Right.
stuff. So yeah, there's all these different random things. You
That's
did
pretty
great,
cool.
man.
Yeah,
You
I'm
did
like
great.
a Jedi, dude. It's so weird.
You did awesome.
Thanks, brother. I
So that was
appreciate
our little story we made up.
Yeah,
So.
that was cool. I liked it. That was cool. I like it a lot.
That was a
Very
decent
D&D, you know?
It kind of was.
It's kind of like the
It kinda
storytelling
was.
of it was,
Yeah.
you know, that's cool. I like it, though.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. That was nice. It was very different than what we've played before, definitely.
Yeah.
But I think it was cool.
Yeah,
So,
hopefully
good
it was
job.
entertaining.
It was. Good job.
Yeah, cool.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. You did great.
All right. Well, another good episode. Great
Yeah.
game. Well, cool. So that's a good inning for us today.
I like it.
So thank you guys for tuning in, whether it's listening to us at work, in your car, or at home, or if you're watching us on the big screen. If you are watching us on the big screen, hit that like and subscribe. And as always, may the last be with you.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.